All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're digging into something that on the surface looks pretty positive.
Hmm.
These big global AI power lists, like the Time 100 AI, they're meant to be a celebration.
They are, but when you actually stack up the sources, you start to see this pattern.
A northern accent, as one source put it.
Exactly, and that's our mission today, really, to unpack why this geographic skew is so much more than just a diversity problem.
It's about power.
It's about structural power, and it affects everyone, but especially the global south.
Okay, so let's get into the data. The sources do acknowledge that there's an effort being made.
Oh, for sure. You see important names on these lists: ministers from Rwanda, Nigeria, entrepreneurs from Brazil.
So it looks like there's an attempt to be inclusive.
It does, but that inclusion can be a little, well, symbolic. Because if you look at the center of gravity, it hasn't moved at all.
It's still clustered in the U.S., Europe, a few wealthy Asian countries.
Overwhelmingly. And it's not an accident. It just mirrors the industry itself.
You mean where the hardware is?
The hardware, the biggest models, the most powerful chips, the giant data centers, they are all physically located in that same small group of rich countries.
Which means the global south gets sort of typecast into a very specific role.
Right. They're framed as the market, the consumers.
A place to sell AI services to. Or, even worse, just a source of raw data.
A source of data or a source of cheap, unseen labor for things like content labeling.
The grunt work.
The grunt work, they're in the system for sure, but they're not co-authors. They're reading a script somebody else wrote.
And if the agenda is set by northern voices, what kind of conversations are we missing out on?
Well, you see what gets prioritized, right?
Yeah.
It's all about competition between the big labs, national security.
The impact on high-paying tech jobs in Silicon Valley.
Precisely. Which, are real concerns for them, but they just create these massive blind spots.
Blind spots for completely different realities elsewhere.
Think about South Africa. The urgent conversation there isn't about a software engineer losing a six-figure job.
No, it's about what happens if call center jobs in Johannesburg and Durban vanish.
Entire industries. Or think about automated systems deciding who gets access to social grants or healthcare in a society that's already deeply unequal. That's a life or death question.
That's a totally different level of risk. And this is where one source introduces a really powerful and quite provocative term.
Digital colonialism.
Explain that. What's the structural risk there?
It's about reinforcing an old pattern. These lists, by focusing on individuals in the north, legitimize the existing flow.
The flow of
Data and talent flows north, and then intellectual property and all the profit flows right back north.
So having a few names on a list becomes a distraction.
It's a dangerous distraction from the huge imbalance in actual institutional power.
Which brings us to the wake-up call. Being mentioned isn't the same as having a real seat at the table.
Not even close. If the rules for AI are all being written in Brussels or Silicon Valley, then everyone else is just living under a system they had no part in designing.
So what's the response? What do the sources say needs to happen?
It has to be about building local centers of gravity, real strategic investment.
In what?
In African universities, in research hubs, in local startups that are actually solving local problems.
In policy, I assume.
Absolutely. Supporting regulators and civil society so they can engage with AI policy meaningfully, not just, accept the terms and conditions.
So for you listening, what's the big takeaway here?
I think it's that seeing diverse names on these lists is a good start. It's encouraging.
What?
But we can't let that small inclusion blind us to the colossal structural imbalance that's still there.
Because for AI to actually serve all of humanity,
every region has to have a hand in deciding what it becomes.
Otherwise, we're just building a system to solve one part of the world's problems.
And calling it global.